I just don't know. Like, for instance, Jack Smith could also bring up the Georgia case, right? But Georgia already did, right? Is it weird that he compounds that? So maybe Michigan does it state, and I think he'd be better off state too, because if Trump wins, he could pardon himself, and he can't do it for the state charges. But anyways, also keep in mind what Michigan has done electorally, right? Like Big Gretch, they flipped their kind of Supreme Court blue. The state legislator is all blue now, so maybe they have now a little bit of the numbers to kind of pursue what they wanted to pursue, and that maybe that wasn't there pre midterms. So I think that's also a factor here. Elections matter, right, John? This it's ever so present in a state like Michigan that completely flipped their entire trifecta blue over the last 4 or 6 years, and their results are proven, right? And so I'm interested to see how fast this goes. It's always interesting the rumors, right? Because when there's a rumor, it's like, all right, it's a rumor, and then a little bit of evidence drops, and then now you find other people are corroborating or whatever the case may be, and then there's a big bombshell, which I think this week was to say there's text messages, this is ongoing, and so I have no doubt in my mind that I think charges are coming in Michigan, and wow, I can't. There's going to be another charge in the middle or after there's actually guilty verdicts in other states and other places. It's fascinating. I also wonder if Michigan gets him off the ballot, right? Like Colorado is decently safe blue, right? And Illinois is decently safe blue, and New York is safe blue, and California is safe blue. What if he's taken off a ballot in the state he needs to win, right? Almost, if I'm Trump, I'm almost not fighting those other cases because I can't win in those states anyways. And so I wonder if he gets off the ballot in Michigan or Pennsylvania, I wonder how he can't win the election that way. So I think Michigan's going to be a key part of this year.
But here's one of the things, and we need to talk about the whole issue. And as you mentioned, Illinois, there's folks in Illinois, not the government, just so you know. There's folks in Illinois, individuals in Illinois, working with law firms that are moving to kick Trump off the ballot. Now, one of the things that people should understand about the Supreme Court agreeing to hear the Colorado case is if he gets a favor, this is a risk for him. And they don't talk a lot about this. Everyone is talking about the fait accompli that that the Supreme Court is not going to kick him off the ballot. But there is a risk. Here's the benefit, here's a risk. If the Supreme Court rules that he can stay on the ballot, it kind of makes all the other state issues irrelevant because most states are following the same script that what have you. However, just so you know this, the risk is if they for some reason rule that he can be kicked off the ballot, guess what it does in those other states? It would actually, if they're all arguing the same way. So for instance, just so you guys understand, ballot access, there are so many different ways in which we try to get people on or off the ballot. And in Illinois, the first thing you need to be able to do is you need to fill out your statement of candidacy. And that is something that currently there are some members of, that are on the ballot right now who are having their candidacies challenged right now because they didn't fill out the statement of candidacy the right way or authentically. Secondly, you have to do at the state level, not at the federal level, a statement of economic interest. If you don't do that and you don't do that correctly, you can get kicked off the ballot. I have a friend who's running for state rep who's right now sweating it out because he filed a statement of economic interest, but there's an argument as whether or not he did it correctly. And the third piece is that you actually have to gather the requisite number of signatures. Now, what would be really funny is if Trump got kicked off the ballot in Illinois, not because of the 14th Amendment, but because he doesn't have the requisite number of valid signatures. And just because someone says, like, I think for president in the United States, in Illinois, you need 5,000 signatures, but you need 5,000 good signatures. And so we have the ways and means by which to challenge. And I've kicked people off the ballot before. And that couldn't even go to the Supreme Court because that's been ruled upon. But the 14th Amendment, as relates to the presidency, is different. But one of the things I think is frustrating for me is everything, every argument for Trump so far is not whether he did or didn't, but whether he should pay the price. Have you noticed that? Is that, you know, he's saying his argument right now in many cases is I'm immune. He's not saying he didn't do what they say he did. His argument's like, oh, the law doesn't apply to me. Um, Once people start making the law apply to him, the boy's gonna have some problems. I still maintain that I don't feel necessarily comfortable that the court will rule the right way. But if I honestly think though, if the court had one shred of integrity, it would rule the right way. Would rule to keep him off the ballot. And I'm sorry if you don't follow the rules. Hey, Khalif Browder died because he spent a significant amount of time in solitary confinement for a case that had not been even heard in Rikers Island. He got out and he killed himself. For what? Being accused of stealing a backpack? Trump has done crimes way worse, and the man has suffered no accountability. And if he can do all that he's done and the worst indignity be that he's not allowed to be run for president is horrible. And what's funny is it also goes back to what we said about the difference between Republicans and Democrats. There is no way that Democrats would ever nominate for president someone who ran for president and lost. We would never, ran in the general election. We did nominate Hillary after losing to Barack. We did nominate Biden after losing to Barack, but they didn't lose to a Republican, right? They weren't the general election candidate. And there's no way Hillary would have ever been allowed to run again. And I don't think Carter would have ever entertained running again. Um, but the boy's got he's got two cases this upcoming week. He's got evidently he's going to go to court for one of his appellate hearings. And what's funny, the one thing I heard today from one of the pundits on TV is that it's very strange for him to attend it because appellate hearings very rarely is a defendant or a plaintiff there. It's usually just lawyers. So he's going there maybe one to intimidate the judges and two for PR purposes. Then he gets to go to New York for his fraud case. And should we note, everyone should understand, it's already been determined by the judge in New York that he committed fraud. All they're really doing right now in New York is trying to determine how large of a penalty. And I'm not sure if you saw what your girl Letitia James did, but she originally asked for a penalty of $250 million. Now it's $370 million or something like that. So you know what, Trump, you're a billionaire. What's $370 billion? If you got it like that, bruh, you should have no problem.
Yeah, I'm sure he disagrees with you because he does not have it like that. Yeah, I think the most fascinating story that nobody's really paying nobody yet, but the Supreme Court hearing the Colorado case is going to have ramifications that I think will change this country forever. I don't know where. I don't have a bet on where they would go. I don't know if they'll be so blatantly. I think the logic is that you have to prove that he committed an insurrection. Does a failed insurrection count? Does an attempt at an insurrection counts, right? Or does he have to be a confirmed, convicted insurrectionist, right? I remember the argument that a lot of the Fox News kind of crowd said was, how is it an insurrection if nobody's being charged for sedition or insurrection? Then a couple of the Proud Boys were convicted and pled guilty to sedition and conspiracy against the country, whatever the official charge is. And all of a sudden, the crowd got quiet, right? Trump isn't being charged with any of that. So do you have to prove that the insurrection was successful? Do you have to prove that it was just an attempt? Remember, Trump's not super dumb, right? He is, but in that speech, he didn't say, let's go commit an insurrection. He said, and we're going to walk to the Capitol. That was their cue, right? They're picking up on cues from him. And maybe the tweets become a little bit evidence for the trial. But my wonder is, will the Supreme Court say if Trump committed an insurrection, he should be off the ballot? You just have to prove that he did successfully, because Joe Biden, technically the election was certified and Joe Biden is the president and Trump left. do they have to prove that he was partaking in an insurrection? That's where I think the gray area lies.